Today you guys are going to do some review of things that we did earlier in the year. Let me present this first. So what we're looking at here are the different types of things that make up figurative language. And if you remember, figurative language is language that communicates ideas beyond the ordinary literal meaning of words. So it's when words on paper have a deeper meaning. So the first type of figurative language we're looking at here is simile. Remember, a simile is a figure of speech in which one thing is compared to another thing using the words like or as. Okay, so some examples of similes. Billie Eilish was like a dark cloud with her black makeup and dark clothing. Okay, so I'm comparing Billie Eilish to a dark cloud. Here, the girlfriend was as mean as a bull. I'm comparing a girlfriend, and I'm comparing it to a bull. And again, remember, all these have to have either like or as in it. The woman howled like a wolf at the man. Here I'm comparing a woman to a wolf, and again, I'm using like. All right, so a metaphor, similar to a simile, but it does not have as. So comparison between two things without like or as. So some examples. I am a beast on the turntables. Here I'm comparing I to a beast. Camila Cabello was a princess. Here I'm comparing Camila Cabello and a princess. Okay, now, next type of figurative language is an alliteration. Okay, so what is an alliteration? It's when I use the same consonant sound at the beginning of each stressed syllable in a line of verse. So if I'm looking around the rock, the ragged rascal ran, rock, ragged, rascal, and ran all have that hard R sound in the beginning. That's what makes it alliteration. Okay, so if I look at some more examples of alliteration, Billy breaks baseballs with his big bat. Those B sounds repeating. Tom told Terry to take his time. That T sound repeating. Okay, now next type, personification. Again, it's a figure of speech that gives human qualities to abstract ideas, animals, and inanimate objects. So it's when I make something that's not human appear human-like. Some examples. The wind stood up and gave a shout. Here I'm giving the quality of shouting to the wind. The waves danced calmly during the storm. Here I have waves dancing. Okay, so those are all types of personification. All right, imagery. Imagery is when I look at the five senses, okay? So it's a descriptive language that appeals to the senses, okay? So remember, you have sight, you have smell, you have touch, you have hearing, and you have taste, right? Five senses. All right, so here's an example of what imagery looks like. He leaped upon the rail and balanced himself there to greater elevation. His pipe, striking a rope, was knocked from his mouth. He lunged for it. A short, hoarse cry came from his lips as he realized he had reached too far and had lost his balance. The cry was pinched off as the blood-warm waters of the Caribbean Sea closed over his head. Right, so I'm appealing to all of the different senses. Touch, taste, feel, sound, okay? All right, hyperbole, again, is an exaggerated, extravagant expression, okay? It's like an over-exaggeration. So some examples of hyperbole. I'd give my whole paycheck for an empanada. I ate the whole cow. You are always doing that. Okay, so these are all examples of hyperbole. Okay, symbolism. Okay, what's symbolism? Right, it's the practice of representing things by means of symbols or attributing symbolic meanings or significance to objects, events, or relationships. Right, so it's basically when I have something that represents something else. Okay, it's got a new meaning. So let's look at some clear examples of symbolism. The dove is a symbol of peace, right? So it represents peace. An owl symbolizes wisdom. Okay. All right. Onomatopoeia is how you pronounce this one. Okay, maybe these are words that imitate the sound they denote. So it's basically the words sound like what they actually mean. That's what onomatopoeia is. So some examples. Pow, bam, snap, crackle, pop, sizzle, right? So these words all basically sound exactly like their meaning. Repetition. Okay, so repetition is an instance of using a word, phrase, or clause more than once in a short passage, dwelling on a point. So it's basically repeating. So when I see something repeating itself over and over again, that's repetition. Okay, so some examples. Okay, goodbye, 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 goodbye. I'm no good at goodbyes, right? Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. I'm a bad guy, I'm a bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, right? So all these are examples of repetition. And again, they don't have to be real close to each other. They could be a little bit spread out. Okay, oxymoron. What's an oxymoron? Okay, it's a figure of speech in which two contradictory meaning words that are the opposite, appear together for emphasis. Some examples. A deafening silence, right? So this would be very loud. This is very quiet. By putting them together, I create a new meaning. Pretty ugliness, okay? Invisible darkness, right? So these are words that are opposite meaning, but I put them together and they create new meanings. Okay, all right. So now that we've gone over these, what you need to do is you're basically going to complete this worksheet. This worksheet is examples of all of these different types of figurative language. So you can use some of these more than once. Obviously, there's, I believe, 20. So you're going to go from number 1 all the way down and figure out which one of these types of figurative language are there. Okay, that's it.